Hey everybody, and welcome back to Hard Ticket. I'm Jeffrey Bogus.
And I'm Tristan Moore.
And the year is 1999. Tristan and I are talking on a landline phone to a few of our friends, talking about going out to see a double feature. I'm 6 months old at the oldest. But regardless, we decide to go to the movies to see something that I think one of them is rated PG-13 and one of them is rated R, so I can't get in anyway. I don't think I can walk yet. I don't remember when I started walking, but I definitely am not going to retain any of these movies. And we get there and we find out, oh no, they're playing at the exact same time. Now we can't do this double feature like we wanted to, and we have to choose between two movies in the year 1999, a huge year for movies. I can't necessarily say we're talking about two of the bigger ones. I mean, we have hits like The Matrix. We have, was American Beauty this year?
I think so, yeah. Or it was 97.
Yeah, Fight Club is this year too. I mean, like the 1999 is regarded as one of the biggest years in movies in the past like few decades. And here we are, standing at the marquee, choosing between options number A and B. Tristan, do you want to go ahead and tell us what option number A is for this evening?
Sure, yeah. Even in 1999, we can't escape the dreaded double feature playing at the exact same time. Option A. Option A is 1999 classic, American Pie. This is a sex comedy. This is a full on.
This is like the
sex comedy. Yes, I would say it was definitely the sex comedy for like the millennial generation, and I think it has continued to have a sort of reputation into Gen Z. Mm-hmm. It stars 5 identical looking white guys and Sean William Scott as Stifler.
Classic.
It follows this group of guys as they are trying to lose their virginity by prom. I think that's the bet.
It's a pact. It's not a bet.
Pact.
It's a pact.
It matters.
Get that right.
Wacky hijinks ensue. A man sticks his member in a baked good, and legends are born. The word MILF is popularized.
Right.
Jeff, have you watched this movie before?
I watched it in high school, I believe, actually, yes.
That's the perfect time to watch it, probably.
Probably, I think. Yeah. I had a soft spot for it a lot. I think its reputation is a little shaky. I think it's definitely a cultural moment that happened in 1999. I mean, this film was huge. It was like, I want to say it had a budget of like $11 million. And it made back like over $200 million. It was insanely profitable. Ridiculous. Spawned like 4 or 3 direct sequels, and then some like spin-off direct-to-DVD piles of garbage. But yeah, I mean, it was enormous.
Yeah, but this one's definitely not a pile of garbage. Or is it? I guess we'll find out in this episode. I had never seen American Pie. I had it rated on Letterboxd for some reason. I think I had maybe seen some clips from it.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I gave it 2 stars originally. We'll see if that holds up or not. But I had never actually seen it. My experience with American Pie is like when I was going through puberty as a kid, like you start to become kind of interested in sex. We're going to be talking about sex in this episode. And
boy.
Yeah, oh boy. And I was like, I should watch American Pie because I'm interested in what they're selling. I'm interested in that. And I never did get around to actually watching it. But it is sort of like, I feel like for me, it was like sort of legendary as like a film that was going to be like super raunchy and like super just like carnal and stuff. And I watched it, and I think we can get into the fact that it's actually not as raunchy as it could have been. I've definitely seen raunchier movies.
Yeah, no, I think that reputation it has of being like sort of the definitive teen sex comedy is like a little bit inflated, you know. And we'll get into it a little bit later on, but for the time, American Pie was actually doing something comparatively progressive to sex comedies of the past. Where
Careful. Careful.
Comparatively, for the time, fair for its day, I guess is a term I think used on TV tropes. But it actually, like the women are not exactly prizes to be won. They sort of have their own autonomy. To a degree, it's still not, they're shy of three-dimensional characters, but
Yeah.
I do think American Pie technically passes the Bechdel test.
Oh, does it? In what scene?
In the I was going to say the orgasm scene where they're talking about having an orgasm. They're not specifically talking about Kevin. I think they mentioned him at the beginning, but they're just talking about, like, have you ever had an orgasm?
Oh,
You'll
okay.
know when you have an orgasm. But there's still like a catalyst of a man kind of being the subject there. So I think it's a little gray, but yeah, no, I still do have a soft spot to this day for American Pie, although I had not seen it since high school, up until prep for this episode.
Yeah, like I said, I'd never seen it. I was, I think, pleasantly surprised by the movie. I think there's a lot in this movie that there is that you could love, but then there's also a lot that's problematic. let's just start off with the beginning of the film. Right, we're at a college party. We're introduced to all these characters and everything. You kind of set the stakes up in the very beginning where
it's a high school party. I mean, like,
oh,
you
yeah,
got to remember that these are all like,
yes. I should mention that every character in this movie looks like they should be in college, because it's part of that, like, trend of casting people who look like they should be way older. So yeah, it is a high school party. You set up the stakes pretty early on with everybody. Just like, you can tell everybody's horny. Everybody's trying to get some. You get introduced to the main guys. You have best boy Oz, who has the famous pickup line, "Suck me, beautiful," and it's all uphill from there for him, which is great because he's my favorite. You have the classic scene of John Cho and his buddy.
John Cho, MILF guys, as credited.
MILF guy, yes. They see a picture of Jennifer Coolidge, Stifler's mom, which is a meme that I'd always heard growing up. Never knew who it actually referred to. Jennifer Coolidge, famous for the Minecraft movie.
Right, that's what it is.
And that's it.
That's it.
She is that's where MILF comes from.
For all you listeners out there, I've tried to get Tristan to watch White Lotus for the past few years, and he has not yet made it to the best Jennifer Coolidge performance that we have in the modern day. But I also haven't seen the Minecraft movie, so I guess I can't say.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. It's the exact same thing. What else we got here? We got everybody looking a little greasy. Everybody looking a little sweaty. All the guys.
Sweaty. Yeah, the guys are, they're striking out left and right. They cannot talk to women. And they have nobody to blame but themselves, and they kind of know that. They're not quite incels, They're just awkward teenage boys. They haven't reached that problematic phase. Although, one of them kind of gets there in this movie, but that's a little further down the line.
Yeah, it's a negative character arc. It's all punctuated by what is maybe the most tense moment between both of the movies, and we haven't even introduced the second movie, but I'm going to talk about this scene really quick, and then I'll let you introduce option number B.
Option number B is 10 Things I Hate About You, by the way.
All right. There it goes. The most tense moment between both movies is the ejaculate in the beer.
God.
True ultimate craft beering or craft brewing. There's a lot of tension as we have Stifler and his would-be victim passing the beer between them, and you don't know who's going to drink from it. It was very. It was like watching a Hitchcock movie. I was on the edge of my seat.
Oh yeah, it lingers.
Yes.
It really lingers.
And that punctuates the opening scene of American Pie. Now, option number B, which you've already mentioned, is 10 Things I Hate About You.
10 Things I Hate About You, which came out a couple months before American Pie. Not quite as profitable, but definitely had a much larger, it's got a bigger impact now in 2025. I think people don't look as favorably on American Pie now, but 10 Things I Hate About You has really only gone up and up and up, and especially I think with the passing of Heath Ledger, where this is, this was his definitive performance before the Joker and the Dark Knight.
And Brokeback Mountain too, yeah.
And Brokeback Mountain, yeah, and those are all so different. I mean,
yeah, the guy had range, and I think you had seen this movie before, right?
I had also seen 10 Things I Hate About You in high school. So just a little bit of context. 10 Things I Hate About You kind of starts by focusing on Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character. He's a young Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He looks like a child because he's a child here.
He's 17, I think, in this movie.
Yeah. That is a difference that this movie has right off the bat, is that the characters look much more like their age.
Yes.
Except for maybe Heath Ledger, but that's neither here nor there. He's a pretty boy anyway. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character Cameron he's new to the school, so we're kind of being introduced to everybody through his eyes. He's that audience surrogate. He's got a dorky friend with a deep voice who rides a scooter, same as Finch in American Pie. There's that character. We got him checked.
Yeah,
he ticks off both bingo cards, and he develops a crush on this pretty popular girl, Bianca. But Bianca's dad will not let her date unless her sister Kat also dates, and unfortunately, Kat is a
she's a shrew.
She's the shrew. Yeah.
This is an adaptation of The Taming of the Shrew, the William Shakespeare. I think it's an early Shakespeare play.
Right, and much more of a direct adaptation than a lot of people realize. I mean, like, the setup is essentially the same. There are suitors to a younger sister who is not allowed to date until her older sister dates. So the suitors hire somebody to date the shrew or to court the shrew. In this instance, it's a rebellious student, Patrick, played by Heath Ledger, who doesn't really care about anything. He's just like, he sets things on fire in chemistry labs, and there's rumors about him like going to jail and stuff like that. But he likes money just like anybody else, so he accepts the offer to court Kat, and the two of them end up striking sort of a genuine romance. And that sort of takes over the whole movie, because Kat, played by Julia Stiles, is pretty objectively the main character, whereas Joseph Gordon-Levitt kind of falls to the wayside. And yeah, I had watched this movie in high school, same as American Pie, probably around the same time too. And I didn't really like it very much back then. Had you seen this movie before, Tristan?
Yeah, I'd seen it. I think I was a senior in high school. My English teacher, who we both ended up having, showed it to the class. Obviously, because it's a Shakespeare adaptation,
right?
And so it has some literary merit too. There was like this boon of like teen movies that were like adaptations of classic literature. I think starting with like Clueless as an adaptation of Jane Austen, all the way up to like Easy A, which is like an adaptation of The Scarlet Letter. So yeah, I'd seen it before. I remember liking it. I remember thinking that it was pretty funny. I was never like really in love with it. But it has a really, really solid reputation all these years later. It's a sort of a cult movie, but nowadays I think it's just sort of mainstream that everybody loves 10 Things I Hate About You, whereas, like you were mentioning earlier, American Pie has definitely aged despite initially performing better and spawning like 8 sequels and spinoffs.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this movie, 10 Things, has a 4.0 on Letterboxd, which is pretty telling. I mean, Letterboxd is the platform for, film people, and it's very beloved. Whereas I think American Pie kind of sits at a 3.1. It's a little bit lower. It's definitely contentious, and I think anybody who says they like American Pie has to sort of defend themselves a little bit. Whereas if you say 10 Things, you're like, yeah, of course you like that.
Yes, I had to scroll really far down on Letterboxd to find an even slightly negative review of 10 Things I Hate About You. Because it's mostly like 4.5, 5-star reviews, people just talking about how attractive Heath Ledger is, which valid, that's for sure. We should maybe clear the air here, because this is a pairing that you recommended, and I greenlit, and I was a little worried when I started watching them, because I was like, how are these actually similar? And now I understand the similarities, but I think we should maybe get into that and explain to the audience why it is that we decided to pair these up together.
Right. Yeah. Initially, I think I suggested putting American Pie up against sort of a more earnest, sincere coming of age movie. I think originally, just when I was trying to figure out matchups, I wrote down The Breakfast Club as sort of a placeholder.
Yeah.
And I don't think The Breakfast Club makes nearly as good of a match as something like 10 Things, because American Pie sort of is a coming of age movie through sex and the idea of sex and these really four guys kind of relationship and perception of it. 10 Things I Hate About You, I didn't remember it being, tackling sex super directly, and it doesn't really, but it's that there's definitely an undercurrent of it. Whereas, the sisters, Bianca and Kat, their father is terrified of them having sex.
Yes.
And he makes literally makes Bianca walk around with like a faux pregnancy suit on. And you can contrast their dad with like Eugene Levy in American Pie, who's almost the total inversion. He will walk in on Jim, on Jason Biggs at all the wrong times and be the most awkward dad imaginable. Just okay, Jim, I got some magazines here for you, and I used to stroke the salami back in the day. Your uncle still does it 6 times. I mean, like it's when I think of dads in movies, Eugene Levy in American Pie is one of the first ones to come up because he's so awkwardly supportive. Like the scene after his son Jim has sex with the pie. They're just sitting there with the pie sort of like reassembled in the pan, and Eugene Levy's just like, well, we'll just tell her we ate it all. It's like one of the funniest scenes in the movie, I think.
Oh yeah, no, he's very candid. He's actually like a heartwarming dad figure, and you contrast that. Well, I feel like you can definitely contrast it with the dad in 10 Things I Hate About You, even though I think he is coming at it with the best of intentions, although he is very controlling. He's literally an OBGYN doctor. So he controls reproduction. Like he's very involved in that side of things. You start the movie as Joseph Gordon-Levitt's going around the school. You have like the main jock character who ends up paying Heath Ledger. He like says something like virgin alert when he sees Bianca. So virginity is definitely like still at play here. The whole idea that Bianca is this person who she's forbidden fruit basically for this character, and you kind of have that treatment, that parallel between the two movies, and but they go about it in very different ways. Very different ways. I think I want to talk a little bit about American Pie, and we started the conversation kind of talking about how dated some of this is, and I think that's definitely true, but there is some of this that I feel like has aged well. I feel like some of it's kind of universal. Like, there's the whole like prom as this like big night, like your senior prom, it's your big night. There's still like this expectation that something's going to happen at prom that's going to be big and important and be part of your coming of age, and you'll always remember it. We can get a little personal maybe with this episode, because these are these are high school.
Oh yeah, no, I figured that would come up, and the whole idea about it is like a writer, Adam Hertz, who also wrote the first 2 sequels to American Pie. When he originally wrote this one, he kind of describes the idea of like losing your virginity in high school, losing it at prom, is as American as apple pie, is kind of what he says. And there's that whole like motif. It's literally the name of the movie.
Yes.
All the advertising for this movie as well is just like kind of like the leading women just in American style bikinis, like with stars and stripes. And that's a lot of the marketing is leaning into it. And then you watch the actual movie and there is a heart there, I think. I mean, there's an earnestness when you get towards the end and the guys have struck out so many times. Their idea of sex has definitely changed. They're tired of like trying to match these expectations they set for themselves, and they eventually do like it happens. Like they fulfill the pact. So there's a little bit of, having your pie and f***ing it too. But at the same time, there is...
You've been waiting to say that one.
Yeah, I thought about it when I was going to bed last night. But it's like, I was surprised when I watched it that you're getting a window into different relationships. You're kind of seeing the end of one that is very childlike. That's the relationship between Kevin and Vicky. You're getting the beginning of one between Oz and Heather. And then you have Jim, who's like a slapstick character, basically, that you cut in and out.
Yeah.
Paul
but
Finch,
he's the main character too, which is weird, right? Like,
kind of.
isn't that a
He
little
gets
odd?
the most like spotlight, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. Even though he's like slapstick, it's odd. It's odd.
Right. And so you kind of like, there is a little bit of, I watched this with our friend Josh, and he was saying that it's like all over the place. And I can totally understand like how having all of these like threads happening simultaneously feels incongruent. I don't necessarily consider it a knock against this movie. I don't think it makes the earnest scenes any less earnest. But I could understand maybe a little bit of hypocrisy for like kind of deconstructing the idea of virginity, but then ultimately like, almost leaning into the wish fulfillment thing of it. Because there's aspects of these where the women approach the guys a lot of the time. Which is almost like a male fantasy thing. Like, you don't put in the work, they come up to you, they're interested in you, they translate that very directly. But it falls short of male fantasy when they fumble over and over and over again, sort of in my mind. But it oscillates back and forth in a way that I don't know. What's your kind of opinion?
Yeah, there's a couple things, and you're talking about like you're seeing all these relationships at different stages. The way I was thinking about it, every one of the four main guys has an arc, and they all kind of take different approaches to losing their virginity. You have like this mythic journey, I think, with that's probably Kevin, where he's like finding the sex Bible, and he's mythologizing the female orgasm, which is like a very like. When you're a guy, you're like, what? Like, you're learning about sex. You're like, women can, enjoy sex and stuff like that. Like, so there's like a mythic aspect. You also have like the sensitive side that comes from Oz, who is the most earnest character. He's just like, he's kind of a himbo. Like, he's just this jock who genuinely, he's basically Troy Bolton from the High School Musical.
I saw a lot of comparisons on Letterboxd saying he was like the prototypical Troy Bolton.
Yes, that's exactly what he is. You have like over preparedness and like neuroticism that you get from Jim, who is just he has like boxes of condoms. He has like tons of porn magazines. He has Vaseline, like just a bunch of stuff. Like you can tell he really wants to do this, and he's like super prepared, but he like comically over prepared.
Right.
Which I want to talk about the comic aspect and how that kind of plays into the male gaze too. But before that, I also want to mention Finch's character, who like at first it seems like he's not even trying. Like he has this reputation already, apparently. Yeah. And you kind of just feel like, oh, some guys just have it. Like that's a part of the like approach to getting sex. But then you find out he literally paid for it, which is also another approach to sex. So you have all these different, like this transactional way of doing it. You have this just like sensitive side. You have like, oh, I'm going on a journey, like kind of way of doing it. And it's all wrapped up in this one bow. And I get kind of what Josh is saying where it's inconsistent, because I kind of agree. It's uneven, I would say. There are just some characters I am way more invested in. I did not really give a shit about Kevin. He has a shit-eating grin, and I loved Oz, of course. Jim is a slapstick character, and Finch is funny, but I don't know, he's just funny, Like there's not as much feeling in the movie as maybe you would want, and I think a lot of that comes from the fact that it is a comedy, and you're talking about like these guys flunking out, and you're like, well, maybe that is sort of a subversion of the male fantasy. I think in a sense that is, but I think also in a movie that is probably aimed primarily toward guys, there is definitely a male catharsis in seeing other men fail at their sexual conquests and sort of laughing at them and sort of just, but also like laughing at yourself a little bit of having grown maybe past that point. Yeah. Or, so I think this movie does very very much play into the male gaze side of things.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And I think the worst part of that, yeah, we have to talk about it. The worst part of that is there is a foreign exchange student named Nadia Nadia, of course, great, that Jim invites over to his home, and she changes in his room, and he sets all this up beforehand. He sets up a camera. He pings a bunch of his friends to watch through the internet, the interwebs, the brand new invention.
The net, yeah.
The net, yeah.
And everybody tunes in, including the band Blink 182, who have a pet monkey in this cameo scene for some reason.
And I love, I think Stifler is like egging him on. He's like, how do you expect to have sex if you can't even violate her privacy?
And then Finch is like, I hate the guy, but he's got a point. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Inglorious 144p.
Right.
But yeah, so she changes and he broadcasts it to all his friends. She starts masturbating.
Yeah, to his dirty magazines
to his dirty
dad bought him.
Which is very much in the male fantasy side of things. Oh, she's just so horny that she goes through his magazines, and while his parents are downstairs, and he's evidently just outside the door and everything.
Right.
And he, even coming back into the room and prematurely ejaculating, he still gets a second chance and then a third chance, and he ends up blowing it, of course. And Nadia is deported for this.
Yeah, she is the only one that pays any consequence for Jim's actions. Like, it's implied that her sponsor kind of blamed her for getting into that situation, I guess.
Yes.
And you know, there have been like the actress who played Nadia, Shannon Elizabeth, has commented in like, you know, years later that like, yeah, that's not a joke now. Like, it was a joke then, but it was still like, you know, it's like boys being boys. They're like, a woman is an object, and that's exactly what this scene plays into. And you know, of course, it's the foreign exchange student too, where there's like there's already like a communicative disconnect. Yeah, fetishization as well. So it's like, and Jim ends up humiliating himself in front of the entire school. But it's like, you know, it's not like a 1-to-1. You know?
No, it's definitely, Jim was not deported. Although maybe he wishes he was, because everybody knows about it the next day. But again, it kind of plays into the male fantasy thing. We get to watch all this happen, you know, along with all the other people, and we get to, you know, feel however we feel about Nadia. We get to feel mirth at Jim's misfortune. Like, it's a disgusting scene. I mean, it is really a violation. The comeuppance that Jim receives, it doesn't. And it feels like a relic. It feels like a holdover from an earlier time, and you know, you're kind of talking about how this movie, it is a coming of age film. It is like a transitionary film. But it's also, in a meta sense, it also is a transitionary film, like where you have all these holdovers from like past like 80s sex comedies, like Porky's, Revenge of the Nerds, like all these movies. But you also have a movie that seems like it is trying to humanize like the women, especially, and like not treat women just as objects, but also as agents with their own sexual desire and stuff like that. The guys do go through arcs. They basically learn to not be so piggish for the most part. So you do have you have this weird movie, where it's like you can tell the movie itself is in growing pains.
Right. Yeah. This whole genre kind of, you know, it's like taking baby steps from Porky's, where it's like I haven't seen it, but you know, I've heard it's like just playing into that voyeuristic aspect of like the male gaze. And then American Pie like starts to try a little bit harder, but it still has those like, you know, it's very much a product of its time still.
Yeah, it's not subverting the genre in any really impactful way. It definitely feels like it falls into those trappings. And you contrast that with like 10 Things I Hate About You, which I think was a little bit ahead of, I think 10 Things I Hate About You is like more dated on the surface. Like, it feels more 90s to me watching it, like all the clothing, the music and everything. But I think it was more ahead of its time with its portrayal of romance. It doesn't go full tilt toward the like original Taming of the Shrew, which has been criticized for being misogynistic. But I think because of that, maybe in spite of it, it was less successful. I mean, Roger Ebert himself, who was like the most popular film critic at the time, himself even preferred American Pie. And you see,
really,
he preferred American Pie, and you see like
Pig.
how that success translated into the future. I mean, American Pie got 8 spin-offs and sequels.
Yeah,
and 10 Things I Hate About You is super critically acclaimed now, and audiences love it now. But it really took its time to get to that point, and it made, I think, like a 5th at the box office. They had similar budgets, but it made like a 5th of.
Well, yeah, I mean the budget's contested anywhere between 13 and 30 million. IMDb estimated 30, which goes against other sources I found on the internet. But I mean, nothing was as big of a hit as American Pie. And while that movie is written by men, directed by a man, 10 Things I Hate About You is also, it's directed by Gil Junger, who never really did anything else. But it had a writing team of Karen McCullough and Kirsten Smith, who also are known for Legally Blonde, Ella Enchanted, The House Bunny, which explains why my girlfriend really loves all of those movies. And she also watched this one with me too. So you get you actually get more of a feminine perspective, and it's appropriate because it focuses on Julia Stiles primarily. And she still acts like a teenager, and a lot of it towards the beginning almost feels like Not Like Other Girls, the movie, little bit.
Yes.
But that kind of goes away the longer it goes. And I'll say, because I mentioned that I watched this in high school and I wasn't huge on it. Back then, I sort of had a thing for the way that high school and kids in high school were portrayed, and I didn't see anything very accurately portray high schoolers. That's why I liked movies where even just getting beer was difficult. Which I would
Superbad.
Yeah, so something like Superbad, which also ages very poorly now.
That's true.
But then you have 10 Things I Hate About You kind of existing in this heightened reality. And even rewatching it this time around, it took me kind of a minute to get into it because high schoolers are insufferable a lot of the time, and they kind of want people to look at them like those witty, like they have that Shakespearean wit to them that's being adapted into this high school setting. But I think around the party scene on my rewatch, the first party scene where Kat really lets loose, gets drunk, gets a concussion, and then Patrick kind of has to take care of her after that. I kind of just saw everything connecting. I saw the chemistry pulling the actors together. I saw the stories kind of the really, really strengthening all of the threads coming together into something that I really, really enjoyed on this rewatch.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. That's definitely a turning point for Kat's character. It's when that's when she is at her most vulnerable up to that point. She's also drunk, which make of that what you will. I think we should maybe talk a little bit about Kat's character at the beginning of the film, because she's very angsty. You said she was the annoying liberal kind of stereotype, I think is what you said.
She's definitely a stereotype. She's that kind of when people were pushing back against feminism of the late 90s, early 2000s, they were kind of I think creating the stereotype that Kat is meant to embody, but she's also not meant to be taken seriously.
Yeah, she is a cliche because she kind of affects this whole I don't care about anything, while at the same time very much obviously being a tryhard who's full of angst. Mm-hmm. I mean, in the original Taming of the Shrew, I think the woman is supposed to be kind of independent. She's supposed to be sort of liberated.
Right.
And the whole taming aspect of it, that's kind of where the allegations of sexism and stuff come in. Full transparency, I haven't actually read The Taming of the Shrew, so I could be getting that completely wrong. But in this movie, you don't get the sense that you get the sense that Kat's on the road to liberation, right? But is any teenager actually liberated? Like they're always dogged down by angst and, you know, anxiety and whatever else is going on, you know, skin wise.
Yeah.
So Kat, you know, she's just angsty. She has all this baggage that you kind of find out later on, like where that comes from. I think it's kind of interesting where that actually comes from. It comes from like a past sexual encounter that she felt pressured to partake in. So you do have that, again, the sexual aspect coming in here. It's in a more sophisticated way. It's in a more nuanced way. But you also have, I don't know, you have this like character who, she is like a character. She actually undergoes an arc. She has agency. And then you contrast that with Heath Ledger's character, Patrick. I can't remember his last name. It's something Verona, I think.
A nod to the original play.
Yeah, and he, to me, he does have agency, but he isn't. He doesn't undergo a character arc. You find out that a lot of his baggage apparently is pretty much just hearsay. He didn't go to prison. He hasn't eaten a duck, or all of a duck except for the feet and the bill.
Yeah.
He, you know, all this. He didn't star in a porno or whatever. He's actually just a pretty down to earth guy who genuinely doesn't care what people think. Sort of what Kat seems to be aspiring to, like moving beyond people's expectations and not just subverting them out of spite. Because at the end of the day, that's still like you care, like you're still being affected. You're blowing opposite of the wind on purpose because you're trying to make a point. You're making a statement, which is something that her and her friend say during the movie.
Right.
Heath Ledger's character like almost falls into like I don't know how to classify it. Like there was a part of me that wanted to go against the grain, against the male fantasy aspect of American Pie and say he's like a female fantasy. There's a part of me that wants to say he's almost like a manic pixie dream guy, like whatever that would be. He's really what he is. He's a Sigma. He's a Sigma male.
He doesn't. No. I mean, he's kind of. I mean, this is the movie where, you know, every woman in America began crushing on Heath Ledger immediately when they saw this movie, because he also just like has such great chemistry with Julia Stiles as well. And to me, sort of like the agency that you might see him lose, like when he starts interacting with Kat, before that, when he's actually approached by Bianca's suitors, he like, you know, he drills a hole in Joseph Gordon-Levitt's like French textbook. He's just kind of like, you know, he's like a rebel without a cause. He's a teenager.
Yeah.
He doesn't have like any reason to be there. And they approach him, and as he sort of like starts to actually develop feelings for Kat, which you see, you know, it does feel like a gradual, like organic thing that happens. To me, it feels that way. He kind of, I think it's understated if it's there at all, but he kind of starts to get a little bit of direction in his life, and he starts like, you know, showing up and trying to be with her without being provoked. And, you know, you can tell he actually cares about her. He like takes care of her when she gets her concussion at the party. And it feels like an organic situation, but you know, if there is an arc there, it's sort of falls by the wayside. So I get where you're coming from. Yeah,
it just seems to me he drops the kind of like drilling holes through textbook act really quickly. Like it doesn't actually seem like that's him. And basically once there's some money in the pot, he's basically just like, oh, I'm just Heath Ledger trying to date Julia Stiles. Mm-hmm. And yeah, no, I just never really got the sense. He just seems like he is a nice guy, and he actually does care, and that's it, which is fine. Like I don't think he needs to be like a super complex or round character.
Yeah.
You contrast that with Kat, and she's, I mean, yeah, she does have to kind of overcome her angst, which is born out of like a traumatic incident. It's also born out of having a father that is on them all the time, which is, I have to imagine, super frustrating.
I know you can be overwhelmed and you can be underwhelmed, but can you ever just be whelmed? I think you can in Europe.
You can sort of contrast Heath Ledger to like the arc that Bianca has as well, because she does have one. She's been pursued by this guy Joey, who's kind of a, you know, he's a dickhead. He's a model who's very vain and superficial. And then you have Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who's like lusting after her, even though like he's to me he's the most believable high schooler in both of these movies, because he's you know, he sees a pretty girl. He's trying to tell his friend like, no, but she's like really deep. She's deep, and but yet she talks like the Velociraptor meme text like all the time. Like, if you drop soap in the shower, is the soap dirty or is the shower clean? It's like that kind of thing. And Bianca actually has an arc too, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character kind of seems like the one who, I don't know, like his superficial pining for her, like, you know, they eventually do end up together, but he doesn't really seem like he takes any lessons away from that, except for maybe nice guys don't finish last.
Yeah, no, the lesson is that it's nice to go sailing. Yeah, no, he doesn't really change. But there is like a weird exchange between the two of them where, I mean, Bianca, I guess, is kind of using Joseph Gordon-Levitt a little bit, but there's also like, he seems to have this expectation of reciprocity, that she's going to like him because he's been nice to her and stuff, and she doesn't owe him that. And I think the film kind of gets away with it though, because she is sort of shown to be shallow and just sort of been using him and stuff. It's a little weird. It's a little muddy. I don't think it's that big of a deal. But yeah, no, I agree. I think Bianca does kind of undergo, and she drops the whole ditzy Velociraptor
thing. And she's even the one to, like, you know, at the climax of a lesser movie, it would be like Joseph Gordon-Levitt standing up for her at the prom and punching Joey in the face. But no, Joey takes Cameron out, and then Bianca steps up and socks him one in the face. And it's like, you know, that's actually really refreshing to see her stand up for herself like that.
That's super refreshing. Yeah. I think they're going to make it.
You think?
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know.
For a little bit. If Joseph Gordon-Levitt kind of like gets to know her a little bit better, then maybe. Because he definitely fell in love like as soon as he saw her. I feel like.
Right, love at first sight.
Yeah, that's something that you do when you're in high school a lot. So another commonality between these two movies, they're both about.
Besides both of them starting out with the song "1 Week" by the Bare Naked Ladies.
That's crazy. That is crazy. I did not pick up on that. You had to tell me that. Yeah, lots of soundtracks, like very dated. Like it definitely puts you in that 90s headspace, especially with 10 Things I Hate About You. They use like the soundtrack to kind of contrast Cat with all the other high schoolers, the more popular ones.
Mm-hmm.
And everything.
Yeah.
I think thematically, like we've talked about the sex thing and all that stuff, but I think they're both movies about expectations.
Yeah.
And like Cat's whole thing is you should do something for your own reasons. You shouldn't do something because someone's expecting you to. And American Pie is all about you better like your expectations about what life is gonna, like, growing up is gonna be like, are like way out there. Like they're gonna be completely, which I think that's true. Like I think that is for sure. That's been my experience. Like you build up things like sex in your head when you're a kid, and you grow up and experience, like, have those life experiences, and it's different, and in a good way. It is human and round, and just, it's not creepy and weird.
Yeah, I mean, I can't overemphasize how much of an ass the guys in American Pie make out of themselves, except for Oz, who, like, you know, if it was a tactic to actually be sensitive and get to know somebody, he drops any strategy and just kind of goes, you know, full on, you know.
Yeah, if it's a tactic, he fooled me. I mean, I was won over.
he wins himself over with it too. He's like, you know, he's not doing it with a goal in mind anymore. He's like, with you, it's like, I already scored. And he does have some good dialogue through that. Whereas, you know, like somebody like when Kevin and Vicky actually consummate their relationship, they have like what seems to be like a really awkward kind of first time sex scene, which is like kind of true to life. And it doesn't really seem like Vicky enjoyed it very much, which I thought was a smart decision too, because like, and then you have like the Jim who like gets it on with Allison Hannigan, and she's like breaking a bunch of furniture. Like you have all these sex scenes happening at the same time, and they're all just like, there's one that's super romantic. That's one there's kind of realistic and awkward. There's one that's carnal, and then there's the MILF one.
And then there's the comedic one. Yeah, you got to do one for laughs, which is great. Yeah, it's yeah, I guess it's sort of catching like a whole like gamut of sexual experiences, because different people do have different first time experiences, right? So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I will give American Pie that. I think there are moments in the movie that are endearing because they do feel to me like universal and specific, sometimes specific in a way that's touching. And then there's moments that are transgressive in a way that it just does not hold up. And it's not particularly clever film, not particularly it's not especially insightful, right. But I can see why. I do think it's kind of lowest common denominator. I can see why it kind of spawned so much success and why it was kind of a big hit at the time. I feel like it's something that most people can watch and at least take something to relate by, especially if you're a guy. And whereas 10 Things I Hate About You, man, I wish we could all relate to having Heath Ledger sweep us off our feet. There's a fantastical element to it in a way, although everybody does learn, I feel like, a realistic lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, it's relatable too. It's relatable too. Like I said, the expectations that's something that you have to overcome. That's the biggest part, I feel like, about growing up, is overcoming those expectations and learning to adjust them and learning to set expectations for yourself that are realistic.
Right. Yeah. And quite a few commonalities just in story beats as well, with like after we watched 10 Things I Hate About You, I put on the makeover episode of Clone High, where like JFK makes a bet with himself to turn Gandhi into like a stud, and he's got the whole like "tell me I was a bet" kind of thing. And both of them have that transactional thing where like Heath Ledger's being paid at first to pursue Kat, and then all the guys in American Pie make a pact. So it's like, there's some sort of inciting thing. But without even getting too much into that, I think that both of these movies just kind of had their finger on a certain pulse that was happening in 1999 and carried into the 2000s. And I know we have a few questions that kind of pertain to that. So I say we just go ahead and move to the Q&A portion of our show. How do you feel?
Yeah, let's do it.
Woo!
I will go first with the first question. I want you to rank the American Pie guys. Right? We have Jim. Yes, we have Jim, Oz, Kevin, Finch, and Stifler. And then I want you to tell me where Heath Ledger's Patrick fits in and why he's at the top.
Yeah, he's at the top, hands down, because he's just the best. I don't think you even need to justify it. Like he's so much better. He has more chemistry than any of the American Pies have with their respective, cast members that they're paired with.
Yeah, so it's because he's Sigma. You can just say it's because he's Sigma.
He's Sigma, man. He's like American Pie's Sigma house, and it's just him sitting alone because none of the other guys were good enough to get in.
Right.
Way further down the ladder, you get Oz, who's just the best of the group. Then I'm going to say you probably get Finch because he feels like the most harmless. His strategy of like pursuing a date was like to just inflate his reputation, and he could just be kind of on the sidelines while it happened. And he has like a genuine kind of tease with Natasha Lyonne's character, but that doesn't ultimately end up going anywhere. Then I think you get Kevin after him, because even though Kevin has a girlfriend who's like kind of crazy about him, he's still just like, yeah, but head's not good enough for me. Which says a lot about the fact there's still two guys under him, because after that, I think you get Stifler, who is like, what you see is what you get. Like,
He's crude. He's crass. He drinks cum beer.
he drinks cum beer. It's a fact about him. And then lastly, you get Jim, who's like dangerously close to going down that incel path that every high schooler comes to a crossroads and is like, am I going to blame myself or am I going to blame women as a whole?
Yes, Jim is definitely a Jordan Peterson listener.
To his credit, I don't think he blames anybody but himself. But that's all I'm going to give him.
That's only because he wasn't radicalized by the net. It wasn't sophisticated enough yet.
And it's funny because his strategy, like when everybody is picking their lane, is to do the e-dating route. So if you do American Pie in 2025, I think there's a certain category he falls into. But
yeah,
I'm guessing my ranking is pretty similar to yours.
It's the exact same as mine. Yeah, it's just the objective. That's the objective rating. Although I think I'd put maybe Oz not quite so far down the ladder because he was charming. I liked Oz.
Yeah, he is a great himbo. Great himbo.
Yeah, but we love himbos.
Disregarding the high school characters, I'm going to ask you a question about the dads, which is between, Kat and Bianca's dad and Jim's dad, which one would you rather get stuck talking to at a cookout?
Definitely Jim's dad.
You think?
He's just, oh yeah. I mean, I would always take like kind of a messy, candid, but like, sort of liberal, I think, liberal coded. he's sex positive. We'll say he's sex positive. He's sex positive and friendly, like genuinely friendly. Whereas Kat and Bianca's dad has an intensity about him. He's controlling. He is like creepily obsessed with his daughter's virginity. I would take Jim's dad in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I think I would too, even though I don't think it would come across as like, sincere if I don't know him at all and he starts talking about like how he used to jerk off when he was a kid. Like, I don't know about that. But still, like, yeah, Kat and Bianca's dad, he definitely is like, he seems like he's one bad day away.
Oh yeah, he seems like he would just be like, "You're not looking at my daughters, are you?" Like he would be really just, he'd be up in your ass the entire time.
Yeah.
All right, my second question: if you were in American Pie and you were forced at gunpoint to be friends with the guys and lose your virginity, what wacky method would you take?
What wacky method would I take
to lose your virginity?
To lose my virginity. If we have to go like full on elevated reality here, I think I would organize a game show with contestants where like, it's like one of those like anonymous dating shows where it's almost like a key party, but the high school version. I don't know. Like they kind of took some of the more fundamental strategies, but if you do the game show thing and I think I did a similar thing in high school, not a similar thing to like trying to lose my virginity, but I made up these quizzes that were like, I asked a bunch of the guys in my class, like questions like, what would your superpower be? And blah, blah, blah. And then based on their answers, I would give the quiz to girls in my class who I was friends with. And I called it the ideal man quiz. And they would get paired up with the guy whose answers they matched with the most. So I would just recreate that, basically, because it was always like a funny tongue-in-cheek thing. Like they would always end up with somebody that they had no romantic interest in, and they were like, holy shit, how did this happen? It was great, especially when in high school you ask a guy what his superpower is going to be, and he says laser cock. So that's always fun. What about you?
Geez, that's great, by the way. It sounds like you were a matchmaker. You never set me up with anybody. You've never been my wingman.
We weren't really that close in high school. I was closer with your brother.
You lost your wingman, your little Cupid's bow when you got into college?
I guess. I didn't really. I don't think those quizzes ever actually set anybody up with somebody else, but they were. But
in the heightened reality of American Pie, maybe.
Oh yeah.
I would probably just join band camp, which is what I did in high school. So, I mean, it seems like things are really popping off there.
Well, we went to band camp together in high school, and from my experience, it was significantly less horny than Michelle's band camp. It wasn't, like, not horny, but...
Yeah, it was still horny, but, like, all it was at night was guys farting and blaming it on other guys. um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's about right.
All right. What you got for me?
Okay, so we talked about the guys from American Pie. Now I'm gonna include the casts, male and female, of both of these movies, and I want you to put yourself back in the shoes of your high school self.
Oh God.
You remember what you were like in high school. I remember what you were like in high school. So, of all the characters in these movies, who do you think you would have had the best date with? And with whom do you think you would have had the worst date with?
So I'm me in high. Am I a freshman or am I like a senior?
Let's say senior. I think most of these characters
Okay.
are seniors.
All right. Thank God. I was a little bit better as a senior. I know who I would like to have a great date with. I'd love to go on a date with Natasha Lyonne because she's like the most normal person in American Pie.
Yeah.
And between these two movies, she's probably the most normal person. So I would like to say Natasha Lyonne. I can't remember her character's name.
Yeah.
Worst? My worst date would probably be it'd probably be Julia Stiles.
You think it'd be
think-
Julia Stiles?
I think people who are mean, I fold. I fold like a paper tiger. I can't do it. So
That's fair.
I'd be intimidated. What about you?
Honestly, I think I would have a pretty good date with Michelle, Allison Hannigan's character, because we would have Bandcamp stories to exchange. And also, like, I remember myself in high school, like, I was exactly the kind of guy who would start sweating the second he would start talking to anybody he didn't know. A self-deprecating type, if you will. And so Allison Hannigan's character would totally just carry the conversation and take a lot of the pressure off of me.
Yeah.
The exact person who wouldn't do that would be Bianca, Larissa Oleynik's character, because she's like that kind of, well, at least, at the beginning of 10 Things, she's like that vapid, like, doesn't really seem to have thoughts about anything. And a date with that person would just be like sitting there, just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't.
But she changes. She changes. You could
Sure.
save her. You'd be like Joseph Gordon-Levitt. You turned her into somebody who will punch a guy for him. So I mean, there you go.
Yeah, fair. Okay.
Agency. All right. What does a sex comedy look like for Gen Z? Like, famously, Gen Z is like apparently super not having sex right now and like super awkward about sex, and we hate sex scenes and all this stuff. I'm technically Gen Z. I'm on that cusp. I'm like a zillennial. You're, I think, you're right there at the beginning of Gen Z. So what does a sex comedy look like for our generation? And have we gone forward or backward or both?
I don't want to think that sex is like more stigmatized now than it was before. I do think, like, I couldn't name the last sex comedy I've seen like released in theaters, and there's and it took way too long for there to be backlash against movies like, honestly, kind of like both of these, where high schoolers are like being sexualized in the mainstream media for general audiences. Like if Nadia is like actually a high schooler in this movie, and like the audience is watching her walk around topless and start masturbating on Jim's bed, it's like, don't you feel a little bit dirty about that? Just a little bit.
Right.
So like, I don't know. I mean, it has to be, for this generation, something that incorporates a heavy online component, like the dating apps. And if you're going to do like a raunchy comedy, you have somebody who just like creates this persona where he's like some like, faux Sigma on Tinder, and he like swipes on everybody, and he has like all these dates, but he can't actually score with any of them because they meet him and he doesn't match the descriptions at all. So I guess you kind of have that. But you have to incorporate like the online, because there's no stigma against online dating at all. I mean, there was maybe like 15, 20 years ago, but like, I met my girlfriend on Hinge. You also met your girlfriend through a dating app. I mean, it's just kind of what people do now. So it has to be about that, right?
Yeah, so it's something. It's funny. I'm thinking of like the horror movies that have taken place like over Zoom,
Oh my God,
and
yeah.
like I think of like what is it, Host, and what is the one that takes place over? Oh, I can't remember the what did people used to use before Zoom? It was
Skype.
Skype. Yeah,
Yeah,
the Skype
yeah,
one. What is that called? Unfriended or
yeah. I
whatever.
think so.
Yeah, I'm thinking of like that, but it's so it's just a sex comedy that takes place entirely on a screen. Honestly, I think it could work. I think it would definitely, yeah, I think that would resonate with Gen Z a little bit. I mean, when I think of sex comedies like recently, like the first thing that came to mind was Bottoms, and I saw
Oh
that a couple
yeah,
of years ago, and don't really remember a ton about it. I remember it's a queer sex comedy, so you have like a more inclusive kind of genre now, I feel like.
well, there's like movies like Booksmart, I think too, which Bottoms might
Yeah.
have been influenced by. I watch these movies and they're always like, I hate it when I know that there's improv just happening on screen and it seems like
Mm.
the actors are uncomfortable with it. And that's all of what Bottoms was to me. It was like,
Yeah.
I thought it was fine, but it took me so long to be able to just be like, okay, there's no script for this. Let's just pretend like we're witty right now.
Yeah. That feels very like of our generation too. Like our generation is super ironic. Like it's hard to imagine a character like Oz in a Gen Z sex comedy who's like super earnest. Like it feels like everybody would be really ironic and kind of detached
Yeah.
and like too cool for it. And then like the arc that you overcome is learning not to be so flippant.
Yeah.
Um, you could make jokes about like OnlyFans and like our generation has grown up with like unfettered access to pornography online and stuff like that. Like
Right.
there, I think it's ripe for like a sex comedy at this point. I just don't think anyone's really like made it yet. But I would definitely be curious to see. I think in some ways, like obviously Gen Z's gone forward. Like we had the whole like Me Too movement, which I don't know if our generation can take credit for. I think that's more like millennial, but like we have come of age in the post like Me Too era and stuff like that.
Well,
So I
and
feel
there's equal pushback to that though, because then you get these guys who are like, they're scared of sex and they accuse
yeah,
everybody of like they're just like, oh, dating's hard in this Me Too movement, isn't it? I can't do anything because I feel like I'm going to get canceled. And I'm like, well, what are you trying to do?
yeah. It's like the guy. I don't know if you saw the episode of The Rehearsal with the guy.
Yes.
He's like, I've been banned on like all these dating apps and stuff. It's like he's like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know why I'm getting. It's like you've obviously like you're the common denominator. Like
How do you
something's gone
not?
wrong.
How do you not know that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think there'd be a lot of comedy to milk from that like cluelessness, but also that would be the villain. That would for sure be the villain. Like it's no longer like the jock who's just like, he's maybe a little crude, but at the end of the day, he's not like he's not like an incel. Like
Yeah.
I'm imagining like Joey like being like, God, like dude, I'm a piece of shit, but I'm not that big of a piece of shit.
Yeah.
So it would be Jim. Jim would be the villain of an actual sex comedy made
Oh my God,
nowadays.
you're right. Yeah. Well, on that note, like, which of these stories do you think works better in a college setting? And then which one do you think works better when they're like middle-aged adults, like maybe in their 40s or even, early 50s?
Uh, I think American Pie works best in a college setting because, and I don't know this for sure. I don't know if like people like the age at which people are sexually active. I don't really know how that's changed with our generation. If that's gone down or if that's increased. I know like our generation, we don't get married as early as other people who don't own houses as early and stuff like that. But I'm imagining like you're in like freshman year of college and you're like, it's time, I gotta lose my virginity. Like I can
Right.
kind of see that. And the 40 to 50-year-old thing, like it's easy for me to imagine the shrew, in that case being like an older man or woman who, I mean, frankly, it'd probably be a woman just because of the way the original story is written.
Right.
Although it'd be interesting to see it like gender swapped. But like an older person who just like, I guess we would, you would classically call like a spinster who just never got married and
Yeah.
needs to kind of settle down or wants to settle down, whatever. So yeah, I think that's probably how I would see it. What about you?
Yeah, I think similarly. I think, when you get that 40 to 50-year-old cast, you can be like, you can have like a divorcee who had a bad experience and just kind of like, I mean, that's sort of almost like on a more broad scale, what happens to Kat's character, she has a bad like sexual experience when she's younger. And when she's
Yeah.
like a senior in high school, she doesn't want anything to do with it. She just wants to deal with the rest of her life as it comes. And then you can apply that, I think. But you can also, like, you can do American Pie with any age group. You just, like, it says a lot about the characters you want to focus on. Like, if you do an American Pie at, like, 50 years old, I don't think you got to kind of thread the needle a little bit, because I don't know. You got to be able to root for these characters, right?
I guess it's basically 40-Year-Old Virgin. I mean, I guess they already kind of did like sort of like American Pie, but with one person who wants to get laid.
Right. But if you do it in college, you can have these guys who, think that they waited too long to lose their virginity and they're just desperate to do it. But maybe they find out that it's like perfectly normal to not have sex until college, or to just, like, and again, it's that whole theme about like putting these pressures on yourself. That's kind of how I see it working.
Yeah. Expectations. All right. My next question. So yeah, obviously 10 Things I Hate About You, an adaptation of The Taming of the Shrew. What other literature, classic or otherwise, would you like to see adapted for the teen movie genre?
Yeah. You mentioned that like the Scarlet Letter was kind of what the Easy A was taking inspiration from. And that is cool that like we were getting sort of like, it's almost like if a bunch of English teachers broke into Hollywood and they were like, I'm going to make a movie so that my students can try to watch this. And then I'm trying to think of like the stuff that we read when I was in high school, because we did do Hamlet. If we wanted to stick with the Shakespeare angle, and you can kind of have like a Lady Macbeth who's just like a toxic relationship, and instead of killing people, Macbeth is just cutting people out of his life and just like isolating himself. I don't know. I mean, that could be something. I was thinking about King Lear and how you could incorporate that, like those father-daughter relationships in it, but that's like such the
tragedy.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of Shakespeare tragedies. What kind of story were you thinking for like a modern update?
I was thinking, I love Kafka, and I was thinking about like doing an adaptation of either like The Metamorphosis or The Trial. I'm just imagining, because I feel like when you're in high school, there's almost like a Kafka-esque, like it's like bureaucratic and you're just doing things that don't make sense. You feel all this pressure that's not really coming from anything in particular. You feel, like you're a bug, basically. I'm one of those people who still has like nightmares about, like, I'm at the end of the semester and I've done all my classes, I passed all my classes, and then I remember that there's one class that I only went to at the very beginning of the semester, and I've completely forgotten about it. And I've got to the very end of the semester, and I've just not attended it at all.
I've had those dreams as well.
Yes.
They're terrifying.
So I'm imagining something like that. The Trial, where it's just like you are in this like limbo of like detention, and you don't even know what it is you've done, or or if you're being accused of something that someone else did, or even The Metamorphosis. I feel like would work perfectly fine as like a coming of age, like a twisted kind of coming of age thing. So I'd love to see Kafka. I feel like Kafka fits very well in with like modern public education.
Yeah. Like you could do The Metamorphosis where Jim from American Pie is like turning into a pig, where like he wakes up turned into a pig. And it's like, what did I even do? Like, I don't deserve this. Or something like that.
Yeah, he's just in denial the entire time. I didn't even film anybody this time.
Okay, what's the most sensual baked good?
God, can you ask me that again in that voice? That's amazing. The audience wants to hear it again.
What is the most sensual baked good?
I mean, it really depends. I mean, you got to say donut, right? Because
oh wow, yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that. Like the hot donut lights on at Krispy Kreme. Yeah, no, I don't.
The glaze.
Okay. Next question.
Wait, what's your answer to that?
Well, yeah, donut. Next question.
All right. Next question. American Pie has spawned countless sequels and reboots. what does 10 Things I Hate About You's franchise empire look like?
Right. I mean, you do like the Ocean's 11 things where it's like 11 things I hate about you and then 12 things I hate about you.
Just pile on the things
Right.
that she hates
I mean,
about it.
the marketing is done for you, but I don't even know how the story is. Like, you're always like kind of try. I mean, if you do the thing where American Pie might have been trying to be a little bit earnest with its characters, but all the sequels completely lose that, then the whole thing about 10 Things I Hate About You is just like you lose any of the charm with trying to court a date, and it all becomes like a whole like no means no kind of thing. And
Oh yeah.
that's kind of, like Heath Ledger's very insistent at the beginning, and Kat like keeps shutting him down, like in a playful way a lot of the time. And you just like, I think if you were going to franchise 10 Things I Hate About You, then you always kind of have to keep that as the fundamental dynamic. And I don't like that because it's like no means no. So
Yeah, I guess it turns out that franchising something and commodifying it ruthlessly kind of ruins it.
yeah, who would have thought?
Wow.
And I'm glad that they didn't.
I'm glad that they didn't. Yeah, no, it's definitely good that they didn't.
On the
I feel like even a second one would ruin it, just unless you did like maybe another adaptation of Shakespeare. Yeah, there's your Lear. You just make it about the dad. He goes he finally goes crazy and everything.
Oh yeah.
He gets dethroned.
Or you just do the Lion King 1.5 thing, which I have also suggested in our like Wrong Turn Deliverance episode, where it's just like you focus on different characters, where like there's like a lower deck episode happening at the same time, and they kind of weave in and out. You kind of get that with the Shermanator and American Pie. Sherman, who like all of the guys get their. You follow their stories and you see their humiliation as a result of their actions. You see Sherman's humiliation at the prom. But it's kind of like he was living his own story that we just don't get to see.
Yeah.
But I probably wouldn't watch that movie anyway. So
No.
It's for the best.
I'm imagining like something where it's like someone getting paid to date Joseph Gordon-Levitt or like his friend's character, and just goes all like everybody getting paid to date everybody else, and it's just a repeating chain all the way down. There you go. There's your 10 Things I Hate About You, 1.5. Oh, what is that? 11.5 things.
11.5 things I hate about. Yeah, that's great. I like that.
Okay.
On the subject of franchisability, though, I'm going to give you 5 American Pie spinoff titles, and you have to identify the real ones from the ones that I made up. Okay.
Okay.
Number 1, American Pie presents The Book of Sex. Number 2, American Pie presents The Big Stink. Number 3, American Pie presents Son of Stifler.
Okay.
Number 4, American Pie presents Girls Rule. And number 5, American Pie presents The Old Horny Goat.
Okay, the only real one is Girls Rule.
Yeah, you're right. I just had a lot of fun writing those. Although there is The Book of Love.
The Book of Love,
instead of The Book of Sex.
Yeah, because these movies are definitely about love and not about sex.
Yeah, very true.
It's something about the springtime that's just cool, like the smell of fresh rain or something. Suck me, beautiful.
What did you just say?
Suck me, beautiful.
Hey, we're on a podcast. It's called Hard Ticket.
Yes.
We do this thing where we have to pick our hard ticket at the end of the episode. And Jeff, I would love to know, what is your hard ticket?
My hard ticket was a toss-up before I rewatched these. But ultimately, it kind of has to go to 10 Things I Hate About You. It totally won me over. It is such an earnest, fun movie with much less problematic elements as American Pie, which, I can defend American Pie. I can defend it semi-comfortably. But 10 Things I Hate About You, I get it now. I finally get the hype. It's great. It's just a really nice, feel-good kind of movie.
Yeah, I agree. 10 Things I Hate About You gets my pick, too. American Pie, I have like this urge to just binge all of them. You know me.
I know.
I'm a binger.
You're a trash
When
cinema addict.
I am a trash cinema addict. I have this horrible habit where I'll watch like one movie out of a franchise and be like, well, now I got to watch all of them. Hopefully I don't go down that road, but if I do, I'll let you know how it goes. But yeah, 10 Things I Hate About You, way easier. I don't have to binge anything. I don't have to feel like I have to binge anything afterward.
You can binge the show where Lindsay Shaw kind of takes over in the leading role.
Oh yeah, I forgot that there's a show.
Me too.
But Heath Ledger's not in it.
No, he's not, and that what's the point?
What's the point? He's the dreamboat. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm on the ship.
Yeah,
So.
American Pie did it right by putting Eugene Levy in every single one of their movies after.
He's in the background of all those posters, all those covers. I'm just like, why? How are they shoehorning this guy in
Easy
every
money.
movie?
It's easy money. Yeah. You go, Eugene.
Yeah, get that bag, Eugene.
But that's going to be it. That's our show for today. Thank you guys for listening. Follow us on Instagram at HardTicketPod. That's all lowercase, all one word, and Blue Sky at the same handle. You can follow me on Letterboxd at Jeff Blogus. Tristan, how can people follow you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. My handle is Tristan Less. You can just look up Tristan Moore and probably find me. And the same with Letterboxd. I'm on Letterboxd as Tristan M.
Nice. Thank you, Aaron Griffin, for mixing and mastering our theme song, sung by yours truly in a truly awful falsetto. And thank you, Jared Tadlock, for providing our brand elements and making our podcast look stylish. Tune in next week as we cover our first triple standoff between Chef, Big Night, and Ratatouille. But until then, we will see you at the movies.
See you guys.
Bye.